In the midst of a power outage, my wife was unaware that I had returned home earlier than expected. In the shadows, I overheard her speaking to our neighbor, stating that once the insurance compensates for his accident next month, we can finally be together. They raised their wine glasses, strategizing my downfall. I discreetly departed and came back later with a flashlight, feigning surprise at discovering them together. 2 weeks later, my phone began to receive her progressively urgent voice messages. Ellie and I have been in a partnership for 8 years, and we have been married for 6 of those years. We encountered each other at a friend's New York gathering during a time when such events were still common, prior to the disruptions caused by COVID. We won't claim that our marriage has been flawless. We have experienced both challenges and successes, much like others. The spark had diminished somewhat, but I assumed that was simply a typical aspect of a long-term relationship. Are you aware? Our neighborhood has been experiencing rolling blackouts recently due to necessary grid maintenance activities. Typically not a significant concern. After a couple of hours, reset the breakers, and continue with your day. Last month, Ellie consistently emphasized the importance of life insurance, suggesting that we consider increasing my policy as a precautionary measure. It was a logical decision given the circumstances. We experienced a leak in our hot water heater, the roof required repairs following the recent storm, and our financial situation has been challenging. I have completed the paperwork, increasing the amount to $500,000. I made the decision without hesitation. Eduardo relocated to the neighboring residence approximately a year ago following his divorce. He appeared to be a decent individual. Initiated visits to request the use of tools. Requested assistance with his lawnmower. Such matters. Reflecting on the situation, it seems those minor repairs may not have required my assistance, but that's beside the point. Ellie began extending invitations for dinner on occasion. She expressed concern for him being all by himself. She would meticulously prepare her attire for these dinners. Significantly more effort is required now compared to when it was solely us. Penalty assessed. However, I chose to overlook it. Last Tuesday, we had a scheduled blackout at 6 p.m. I was returning home early because my friend canceled our plans. No problem. I did not communicate with Ellie regarding that matter. The phone was at approximately 2% battery life, regardless. I arrive at approximately 5:30, coinciding with the power outage. Ideal timing, wouldn't you agree? That Kong May. Our garage door openers are malfunctioning. Another item on my list for resolution. I parked on the street and accessed the building through the side door. The entire house is shrouded in darkness, yet I can hear voices emanating from the kitchen. Ellie is expressing joy through laughter. It wasn't her usual laugh. Rather, it was that high-pitched sound she employs when aiming to make an impression. At that moment, I also perceive Eduardo's voice. I want to clarify that I don't possess feelings of jealousy. I assumed they were simply socializing, yet there was an underlying sensation that, Rather than introducing myself, I simply remained in the hallway. The house was sufficiently dim that I remained unseen. It was at that moment that I became aware of it. Ellie discussed the strategy, emphasizing the necessity for it to appear as an accident. Eduardo inquired whether she was confident about the timing. Then, unmistakably, I heard Ellie mention that once the insurance disperses for his next month, an unexpected event will allow us to finally be together. The wine glasses clinked immediately afterward. They were raising a glass in honor of my demise. My mind simply, by non-mock. It's akin to driving and suddenly becoming aware that you've covered 10 miles without any recollection of the journey. I experienced a range of discomfort, feeling unwell, alternating between hot and cold sensations simultaneously. However, I did not enter the room in a fit of rage. I discreetly withdrew and stepped outside. I remained in my car for approximately 20 minutes, focusing on my breathing, coming to terms with the fact that my wife of 6 years had been plotting to take my life, for the purpose of insurance compensation, together with the neighbor. Like a gripping episode of Dateline NBC. The reality is, I may not be the most intelligent person, but I certainly possess a level of understanding. Creating a disturbance at that moment would have yielded no benefits, only alerting them to my awareness. I navigated the area without a specific destination until nightfall. Perhaps at 7 p.m. visited the convenience store to purchase flashlights, water, and snacks. I behaved as though I was merely getting ready for the blackout. Upon returning home, I entered with considerable commotion. Called out Ellie's name as if it were an everyday occurrence. She responded from the kitchen. Voice sounds unusual and elevated. I entered with the flashlights, and there they were. 2 elegant wine glasses are placed on the table. Eduardo appears to be feeling quite remorseful. Ellie, wearing a feigned expression of surprise, inquired about my early return home. I acted oblivious. My friend has informed me that he has cancelled. Provided each of them with a flashlight. Behaved as if discovering them together was insignificant. Eduardo provided a rationale for his visit, stating he wanted to confirm whether we had power as well. I extended an invitation for him to enjoy a beer. Observing his discomfort as he politely declined and mentioned it was time for him to leave. The following 2 hours were the most unusual of my life. Seated alongside Ellie in the soft glow of candlelight. Engaging in casual conversation while being fully aware that she was meticulously orchestrating my demise. She consistently monitored her phone. Take a moment to consider who it might be. I observed that she had applied her finest perfume. The one she reserves exclusively for special occasions. She would also switch into that blue top that I consistently mention enhances her appearance. To Eduardo. This option does not align with my preferences. In the following days, I began to observe closely, demonstrating a high level of focus. Ellie has frequently been putting in extended hours at work. Her phone has unexpectedly acquired a passcode. She has been inquiring about my schedule in a rather unusual manner. If I am considering any solo trips, demonstrating exceptional kindness on occasion, then remote individuals. Classic suspicious behavior. As my nephew often remarks. Subsequently, I discovered the browser history she neglected to erase. Investigations into discrete toxins and methods to create the appearance of accidental demise. The typical duration for life insurance payouts. Indeed, it's quite apparent. It resembles observing a young child attempting to conceal their act of taking candy. I also found out that they had been communicating on an encrypted chat application. I was unable to view the messages, yet the notifications indicated a continuous conversation. At this time, Ellie is hardly communicating with me. Aside from inquiring about my forthcoming fishing trip with my brothers. The one she strongly recommended I attend next month. Despite her previous disdain for my departures. Last weekend, I inadvertently tipped over her purse. A small bottle of an unidentified substance tumbled out, clearly not medicine or perfume. No label. She quickly grabbed it and became quite defensive when I inquired about its nature. Claimed it was merely vitamins, yet her expression suggested she had encountered something truly unsettling. What ultimately pushed me over the edge was listening to her conversation on the phone yesterday. She assumed I was in the shower, but I had merely turned on the water while I was actually retrieving something from the bedroom. She was informing someone, definitely Eduardo, that it must appear natural and we need to adhere to the timeline. Furthermore, it was noted that the fishing trip would be ideal, as unforeseen incidents frequently occur in such environments. Here I stand. My wife of 6 years is strategically planning to eliminate me for insurance money so she can leave with a neighbor. They are not approaching the situation with the necessary intelligence. I have been vigilant, carefully monitoring everything I consume. I haven't shared this with anyone yet because, to be honest, it seems quite unbelievable. Who would find this credible? Additionally, a part of me remains unable to fully accept that this situation is unfolding. The woman with whom I have shared a bed for 8 years desires my demise. Here is my plan. I am systematically gathering all available evidence. Images capturing her search history. Images of the unusual bottle. Document any statements she makes that may raise concerns. I have transferred the majority of our savings to an account that is inaccessible to her. I informed the bank of my concerns regarding potential fraudulent activity on our joint account. Not precisely a falsehood. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. Silently. I require information regarding my options. I have commenced the process of documenting all activities within our residence. I received the small cameras I ordered from Amazon today. She is unaware of their presence. I maintain a facade of normalcy as I observe her entrenching herself further. Ultimately, I could choose to address the situation directly with her. One could simply depart. However, after 8 years of partnership, after the meticulous way she orchestrated this, no, that is insufficient. I expect her to face the appropriate repercussions. Genuine individuals. I believe Eduardo should also face the consequences of his actions. I understand that seeking revenge may not be the most constructive approach. However, I will not passively accept their intentions while they orchestrate my misfortune. I will ensure they deeply regret underestimating me. I will provide an update as soon as I have more information. At this moment, I am participating in their strategy while establishing my own framework. Strategic thinking, not simple moves. Everything mentioned. Has anyone experienced a situation like this? Is it unreasonable for me to hesitate in confronting her or involving the authorities? A portion of me remains in disbelief that this is my current reality. First and foremost, this is quite astonishing. My last post gained significant attention unexpectedly. Thank you to TSCX for the recognition, guidance, and support. For those inquiring about the latest information, here it is. Please be advised, this will be a lengthy discussion. These past 2 weeks have been the most unusual of my life. Walking around my own house, aware that my wife harbors such intense feelings towards me, creates a unique atmosphere, wouldn't you agree? It's akin to operating a vehicle that you are aware has faulty brakes. Anticipating the impending downturn. However, I have maintained my composure. Behaving in a standard manner. Engaged in intimate relations with Ellie on 2 occasions, which was complex. She appeared preoccupied throughout, likely contemplating Eduardo. Or perhaps how to eliminate me afterward. That Kong the Tin Duok. I had a meeting with the lawyer I previously referenced. A seasoned individual, with a cluttered workspace and a history of 3 divorces. Ideal for my circumstances. He provided me with valuable guidance that essentially summarized to thoroughly record all details, ensure financial security, and compile necessary evidence. Indeed, that's correct. Receiving confirmation from an expert that I'm not irrational provided more reassurance than I anticipated. The initial priority was financial matters. We had approximately $16,000 in our joint savings account. It's not a significant amount, but it's what remained after purchasing the house and addressing the basement flood from last year. I was unable to simply withdraw all the funds from the account. Is it too apparent? I have devised a plan. I informed Ellie about my gambling issue. I understand how that may come across, but please allow me to explain. I admitted to her that I had been engaging in online gambling for several months and had incurred losses amounting to a couple of $1,000s. I expressed that I required assistance. I was planning to join a support group and fully engage in the process. I even presented her with a fabricated betting history that I created using Photoshop. She acquired it entirely. Even took on the role of a supportive spouse, gently massaging my back and assuring me that we would overcome this together. An exceptional performance, especially given the context of her planning my funeral. The elegance of this gambling issue lies in its ability to clarify any unusual financial transactions. I have transferred the majority of our savings to a new account, departing with a calculated amount to maintain discretion. I explained that it was a measure to safeguard my own well-being. Additionally, I clarified the necessity of maintaining separate accounts for a period of time. She found that idea highly appealing. I'm sure she considered how advantageous it would be once I'm no longer around. Next, I needed to begin crafting issues between Ellie and Eduardo. A marriage functions similarly to an engine. It may appear intricate at first glance, but it consists of several components that can be adjusted independently. I observed that Eduardo exhibits significant jealousy when Ellie engages in conversation with other males. During the cookout at our neighbor's place last weekend, I observed the subtle shifts in his expression as she engaged in conversation with the host. I began to subtly reference other men during my conversations with Ellie. A colleague from her office reached out via text regarding a work-related matter. It was merely innocent matters, yet I was always aware that Eduardo could potentially overhear or that she might bring it up to him afterward. Subsequently, I inadvertently forwarded a message intended for Ellie to Eduardo. She looked exceptional in that outfit she chose to wear when meeting her friend after work. A meeting that did not take place. I promptly deleted it with a brief apology for the mistake. However, the damage has been incurred. His response was simply NP. However, the suspicion was almost palpable over the phone. For Ellie, I initiated a discussion regarding Eduardo's financial situation. I noted in passing that I had heard his business was facing challenges. Inquired whether she was aware of his overdue HOA payments. That information is not accurate. I fabricated it. Small fragments of uncertainty. Observing their discomfort has been unexpectedly gratifying. I don't usually behave this way. I have never been someone who takes pleasure in the misfortunes of others. "Hannah's here," my mom called out as I walked through the door. The cameras I installed recorded some intriguing conversations. They are currently organizing the incident during my fishing trip, but there is now a palpable tension in the air. In a recent video, Ellie inquired with Eduardo regarding a certain woman who persistently comments on his social media posts. He became quite defensive. In another instance, they engaged in a discussion regarding the financial matters. It appears that Eduardo is anticipating a larger share than what Ellie is willing to offer him. Issues arising in a seemingly idyllic setting, amusingly enough. I have been compiling all these recordings, screenshots, and various materials. Constructing my argument. I even documented the moment I opened that unmarked bottle from her purse. Gloves that have been previously utilized. It was revealed to be a type of powder. Submitted a small sample to a mail-in testing service. The results are expected to be returned next week. In the meantime, I have been establishing what my attorney refers to as a series of narrow escapes. Essentially, creating the impression that I have been experiencing unusual incidents. I informed Ellie that I nearly lost my balance while descending the stairs with the laundry. On a different day, I returned home with a bandage wrapped around my arm. I informed her that I maneuvered to avoid a cat while driving, resulting in a scrape against a wall. There are no significant issues. Just enough to instill a sense of unease in her and Eduardo regarding the possibility of my untimely demise before their significant plan unfolds. The expression on her face each time is an unusual blend of worry and letdown. It seems she is concerned that I might take the initiative by passing away independently. That dang teak. Last week, I initiated the phase of financial disarray. Identified several unauthorized charges on the credit card. Contacted the bank while Ellie was present at home. Displayed significant concern regarding identity theft. All of our cards have been cancelled. New ones have been issued. The temporary freeze on our accounts caused Ellie to feel anxious. Continuously monitored her phone. Sending messages with urgency. Clearly, it is directed towards Eduardo. I have never encountered an individual so anxious about being unable to utilize a credit card for a duration of 3 days. I casually mentioned to our neighbor across the street, who is friends with Eduardo's ex-wife, that I was considering exploring real estate investments and had heard that Eduardo might offer some valuable insights. Subtly mentioned that we've been encountering him frequently, particularly during my absence at home. The expression on her face conveyed everything I required to understand. The rumor was poised to circulate quickly. My strategy goes beyond merely influencing them on a psychological level. It involves establishing a protective framework for myself while causing them to become progressively more frantic and careless. I took an unanticipated day off on Wednesday. Did not inform Ellie. We parked down the street and observed our residents. As anticipated, Eduardo arrived an hour later than my usual departure time. Remained for a duration of 3 hours. I recorded everything on my phone. Upon reviewing my home cameras later, I noticed they were discussing the timeline once more. Eduardo appeared to be under pressure, expressing the need for increased caution. Ellie confidently assured him that everything would be in order once they addressed the matters next month. This is where the intrigue begins. I chose to evaluate the extent of their commitment. I informed Ellie that I would be canceling the fishing trip scheduled for next month. My brother has sustained an ankle injury. He did not. We are rescheduling. Her complexion lost all its color. She made an effort to persuade me to attend by myself. I expressed that I warranted some personal time. Don't let your brother's actions hold you back from this opportunity. The same woman who has expressed her discontent about my fishing trips for years is now eagerly anticipating our time alone on that lake. Red Flag Factory. The psychological tactics are proving effective. Ellie has been making unintentional errors. She left her phone unlocked on the counter yesterday. I took a brief glance. Message to Eduardo indicating the necessity for a revised strategy, and expressing concern regarding the financial situation. Additionally, receipts for questionable online purchases were discovered in her email. One was for a phone that could not be traced. Another option for a keylogger. It seems she might be attempting to gather information about me as well. Unprofessional performance. Last night marked the most significant advancement to date. I was absent for a duration of 48 hours. I did not inform Ellie of my destination. Did not respond to my call. Simply disappeared. Accommodated at a motel located 2 towns away. Utilized cash. I turned my phone off. For all they were aware, I could have been deceased in an abandoned location. The cameras captured their response. Ellie contacted Eduardo in a state of urgency approximately 6 hours after my expected return home. He arrived. They conducted a thorough search of the house. I reviewed my social media accounts. Contacted medical facilities. Not due to concern. They experienced fear. Eduardo repeatedly asserted that this was not included in the strategy. They were unprepared. Ellie expressed concern regarding the insurance. It seems that a physical presence is required to secure that lucrative payout. I returned home on Sunday evening as if nothing had occurred. I expressed the need for some time to gather my thoughts. I went camping alone. Ellie's expression was truly remarkable. Relief accompanied by irritation, blended with uncertainty. She attempted to display anger over the concern I had caused her. However, I could observe her thoughts in a flurry. Recalculating. That evening, I overheard her speaking on the phone while in the bathroom. The walls in our residence are quite thin, and she was speaking in hushed tones, yet her voice carried clearly. I've gathered some information indicating that there are growing suspicions, and it's imperative to act swiftly as time is of the essence. They are showing signs of urgency. Committing errors. Currently, this is the situation we are facing. I have successfully secured the majority of our funds. I have gathered substantial evidence of their scheming. I have established a sense of unease as they become more paranoid and careless. I have successfully led Ellie to believe that I am unaware of the situation at hand. The fact is, I still have more to accomplish. Far from it. Phase 2 commences tomorrow. I have terminated the life insurance policy that they were particularly enthusiastic about. The paperwork was processed yesterday. Ellie is not yet informed. Upon discovering the truth. That promises to be quite intriguing. I have a meeting scheduled with Eduardo for beers tomorrow. Indeed, you have understood that correctly. I contacted him. Suggested that we spend some time together. It's important to deepen our understanding of one another, especially given how frequently we are in each other's presence. He was unable to decline without raising suspicion. Intending to encourage him to consume alcohol. Observe what I can elicit from him. Consider introducing additional details about Ellie's other friends. The concluding detail? I will be participating in that fishing trip after all. However, it will not unfold as they anticipate. We will provide further updates as more information becomes available. For anyone concerned about my safety, there is no need for worry. I ensure my door is securely locked at night, take the initiative to prepare my own meals, and maintain regular communication with a friend who checks in on me each day. These two do not exhibit the qualities of criminal masterminds. They are a disenchanted homemaker and an eager individual who overestimate their own intelligence. Last updated. Hello Reddit. Many of you have reached out to me via direct message inquiring about the recent events. If I am still alive, etc. Advance notice. I am present. And matters have advanced. Prepare yourself. This will be an extensive discussion. Regarding the beer with Eduardo that I referenced in my previous post. The outcome exceeded my expectations. I encountered him at a local dive bar in the downtown area. establishment featuring adhesive flooring and economical beverage pitchers. I informed Ellie that I would be meeting with some acquaintances from my gambling support group. She truly motivated me to proceed, perhaps anticipating that I would have an unfortunate incident with my vehicle on the journey back. Unfortunately, Eduardo struggles significantly with alcohol consumption. After 3 beers, his speech has become slurred, expressing deep feelings regarding his divorce, financial difficulties, and intricate circumstances. I feigned ignorance, simply nodding in agreement, purchasing additional rounds. During our 5th beer, I noted that Ellie appears to be under some stress recently. Inquired whether he was aware of the reason. That was the moment when the situation became intriguing. He began to elaborate on the unpredictability of plans and the reality that individuals may not always present their true selves. Then delivered this impactful statement. It seems that Ellie has been in communication with her former partner lately. She mentioned that she had been exploring various possibilities. Eduardo was evidently displeased with the situation, sensing that he had been manipulated. I feigned surprise. Inquired further. I captured the entire event on my phone while it was in my pocket. The final touch. I referred to the life insurance policy. I informed him that I had been considering canceling it due to the elevated premiums associated with my gambling issue. His expression shifted from a state of carefree relaxation to one of alarm in the blink of an eye. Initiated a discussion on the significance of insurance and emphasized the necessity of maintaining it. Subsequently, the topic was shifted without delay. Subpar performance. Upon my arrival home that evening, Ellie was there, waiting for me. Inquired about the well-being of the team members. I informed her that it was excellent. I encountered Eduardo at the bar. He expressed that he appeared troubled regarding a woman he has been involved with who seems to be playing games. The expression on her face? Vogia. It's evident when the check engine light indicates a problem beyond a mere sensor issue. The following morning, the true excitement commenced. I received an email notification confirming the successful cancellation of the life insurance policy. I inadvertently left the email open on my laptop while I stepped away to take a shower. Upon my return, Ellie was preparing breakfast, her hands trembling slightly. Inquired whether all matters were proceeding smoothly. She quietly expressed her discomfort regarding a headache. Of course, January. On that same day, I identified unauthorized transactions on our remaining joint account. Contacted the bank with Ellie present. Presented a significant display regarding the possibility that our information may have been compromised. Your account has been temporarily suspended while we conduct an investigation. Ellie experienced a moment of intense anxiety but made an effort to conceal it. Inquired about the timeline for its unfreezing. I dismissed it with a shrug. It may take a few days or possibly weeks. The bank required verification of all recent transactions, including the cash withdrawals she had been making. You're aware of the details she assumed I overlooked. The situation intensified when I received a call from the testing service regarding the powder found in Ellie's purse. Fortunately, it is not toxic. Just ground the sleeping pills into a fine powder. Robust individuals. Strength of the prescription. It seems their strategy was to incapacitate me prior to orchestrating the incident. The call arrived while Ellie was present in the room. I presented it as a job application while ensuring to emphasize the test results and samples consistently. Audible for her to perceive. Observed her complexion lose its vibrancy. In the meantime, my discreet notification to Eduardo's workplace regarding potential ethical breaches began to yield results. Received an urgent message from him inquiring whether Ellie had discussed anything regarding his work situation. I acted oblivious once more. Subsequently, I caught a glimpse of Ellie conversing with him on the phone. An internal review is underway, and how essential it was for him to maintain composure. My discreet surveillance captured her pacing, informing him that it was necessary to pause all activities. Then arrived the decisive measure. I have once again left my laptop open. However, this time, a draft email to a divorce attorney is in view. I have thoroughly outlined all my suspicions. Regarding Ellie's relationship with Eduardo. Discussed the life insurance policy. The enigmatic powder. Everything. I created the appearance of collecting evidence, but I had not yet submitted it. I inadvertently kept location sharing enabled on my phone. I activated the system and proceeded to meet with my current attorney, ensuring that the location indicated my presence at a law office. Upon my arrival home, Ellie was actively engaged in managing the situation. I prepared my favorite dinner. I proposed that we view the sci-fi film I had expressed interest in. Engaged in sexual activity for the first time in several months. Throughout the situation, her phone continued to vibrate with incoming messages that she was evidently attempting to disregard. Eduardo is clearly in a state of heightened anxiety. The following day, I revealed the significant news. I seated Ellie and composedly informed her that I was aware of her relationship with Eduardo. Only the affair, not the murder plot. I mentioned that I had observed the messages. I observed the trend of him visiting while I was absent. I informed her of my decision to pursue a divorce. Her response was not in line with my expectations. She acknowledged the affair but asserted that it had concluded. Eduardo had been exerting pressure on her for financial assistance. She warned me that she would disclose everything if she wasn't compensated. She asserted that she had been attempting to conclude the relationship for several weeks. Emotions ran high, pleading the entire performance. There was no mention of the murder plot, portraying Eduardo as the antagonist while she assumes the role of the unfortunate, influenced victim. I acknowledged with a nod. I expressed the need for some time to reflect, requested her to spend a few days with her sister. She consented with some hesitation. As soon as she departed, I promptly forwarded Eduardo a meticulously edited recording of Ellie captured by my concealed cameras. Only the sections where she discussed his instability and the threats he made towards her. Presented the situation as if she had entirely betrayed him. What was his response? A series of messages labeling her with various derogatory terms. She claimed to be the originator of the entire plan from the outset. She asserted that she had guaranteed him they would divide everything equally once it was completed. Did not explicitly reference homicide. However, it is sufficiently near. I have preserved every message. As they were preoccupied with their own collapse, I carried out the financial strategy with precision. Submitted divorce papers, citing infidelity supported by evidence. My attorney assisted me in obtaining temporary orders to freeze the majority of our assets. The locks on the house have been changed. Legally, my name is the sole one listed on the deed. Terminate Ellie's access to the remaining funds in our joint accounts. Eduardo's situation worsened at an alarming rate. The inquiry into ethical matters uncovered some genuine questionable activities. He has been suspended while a review is conducted. His former spouse became aware of speculation regarding him and Ellie, prompting her to seek a modification of their divorce settlement, alleging that he concealed assets. The structure was disintegrating. The reality is, observing their self-destruction should have provided a greater sense of satisfaction than it ultimately did. I appreciate the fulfillment that comes from witnessing justice unfold. However, there remains a sense of emptiness. 8 years of marriage culminated in this detrimental conclusion. There are still nights when I awaken, reflecting on how I failed to recognize the signs sooner. Approximately 1 week following Ellie's departure, the voice messages began to arrive. The initial responses were filled with anger. How could I have done this to her? I lacked any evidence. She would receive what was rightfully hers in the divorce. Subsequently, they transitioned, became earnest. In a state of urgency, she was unable to access any funds. Her sister was asking her to leave. Eduardo was making threats towards her. Could she kindly return home for a discussion? I saved every message without responding. Each one seemed more desperate than the last. The pivotal moment occurred 3 days ago. While organizing some of Ellie's belongings, I discovered a notebook hidden behind the dresser. Are you inside? Comprehensive notes regarding my schedule, my routines, catalogs of incidents that may occur in a natural context, investigation into life insurance disbursements and associated waiting durations. Additionally, a detailed plan for the fishing trip was outlined, specifying Eduardo's responsibilities to ensure my absence upon return. That evening, I sent a message to Ellie. I requested her to meet me at a coffee shop the following day. Numerous witnesses present. Upon her arrival, her appearance was quite unkempt. I have not had any sleep. Clearly under pressure. Commenced promptly with the victim routine. I allowed her to speak uninterrupted for 5 minutes. As she took a moment to catch her breath, I discreetly pushed the notebook across the table. The expression on her face. It resembles observing a transmission malfunction unfold in real time. Initiate full system shutdown procedure. She attempted to articulate an explanation, asserting that it was a work of fiction. For a writing course she was enrolled in. I simply observed her intently. I ultimately informed her that I was aware of all the details. Possessed from the outset. The interruption of electrical service. The wine glasses are elegantly designed. The complete scheme for the murder. Subsequently, I presented her with the available options. Option 1. I utilize all my resources. The audio recordings. The notebook. The results of the powder test. Eduardo's message essentially acknowledges the scheme. To the law enforcement authorities. Second option. She affixes her signature to the divorce papers I presented. The terms are final and cannot be altered. She receives only her personal belongings and her vehicle. No alimony. She departs from the town. She remained seated for what seemed like an eternity, merely observing the notebook. I finally inquired softly if I had truly been aware all along. Upon my nod, she began to laugh. Unpleasant laughter. A state of distress that teeters on the edge of tears. She mentioned that she believed I was too oblivious to observe anything. That is the reason they selected me. Simple target. Reasonable insurance payout. The reality is, listening to her articulate that should have caused pain. However, it did not occur. I experienced no emotions. It resembles observing an unfamiliar individual discuss a completely different person. She was no longer the woman I had married. Perhaps it has never occurred. She executed the documents on the spot. I did not review them at all. Inquired whether I would indeed contact the authorities should she fail to comply. The expression I directed towards her conveyed everything that needed to be said. As she was departing, she glanced back. Inquired about the duration of my acquaintance. I informed her since the power outage. She simply shook her head. Expressed a sentiment regarding the potential for alternative outcomes. And exited the premises. Eduardo faced no less difficulty. I provided him with screenshots of the notebook pages accompanied by a concise message. Depart from the area, or I will escalate this matter to law enforcement. He did not provide any response. He promptly listed his house for sale the following day. We have arrived at this point. Documents for divorce have been submitted. The house is serene. Their lives are in disarray while I am, though not perfect, holding steady. Advancing ahead. For those inquiring about the powder, indeed. I have received the complete test results. A sufficient amount of sedatives to incapacitate a large animal. It would have facilitated the execution of the fishing accident they had organized. What is the current status? Ellie is currently residing with a friend in a nearby town. Currently unemployed. Insufficient funds. My reputation has been severely impacted after inadvertently revealing the affair to our mutual friends. The details of the murder plot will remain confidential between us. At this moment, Eduardo's property is available for purchase. His professional journey is in disarray. His former spouse is revisiting their divorce proceedings. Karma can be quite unforgiving. I am currently consulting with a therapist. It appears that learning about your wife's intentions after 6 years of marriage can leave lasting emotional impacts. Who would have thought? The dating application I installed last week? I have already had coffee with someone. It's not a significant matter. It's refreshing to acknowledge the presence of ordinary individuals. I have undergone significant changes since then. More prudent. More cautious. However, I have also become more resilient in ways I never anticipated. Like a meticulously restored engine following a significant breakdown. Various components. It may even operate more efficiently than previously. Several individuals have inquired whether I have any regrets about not reporting to the authorities. To be frank, occasionally. However, pursuing prosecution would likely have been complicated, highly visible, and without any assurance of actual imprisonment. In this manner, they forfeited all that was significant to them. Finance. As I take the time to rebuild in a focused manner. Life can be quite peculiar. A single power outage transformed the entire situation. If I had returned home at the usual hour that day, I could have faced a dire outcome by now. Drifting face down in a lake as Ellie processed my life insurance claim. Alternatively, I am currently at home, enjoying a beer, and providing this final update to the online community that has shown unexpected support throughout this challenging situation. At times, the most effective form of retribution is not a complex plan. It simply involves holding individuals accountable for their actions while you remain unaffected. That concludes our discussion.